They're coming in now. So good afternoon and welcome. We're going to give it a few more minutes for some others to join us. Thank you so much for being with us today. This is going to be an interesting conversation between friends, between girlfriends. I usually would bring up, have a bottle of wine with a wine glass here ready to go, but I didn't do that today because I've been running from meeting to meeting. But it's that kind of party. We're just going to be a few girlfriends sitting around the fire and chatting. All right, so do we want to go ahead and get started, ladies?
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, again, good afternoon. My name is Karen Ellis. I am the Chief Customer Experience Officer for the San Antonio Airport System. I'm also the event planning chair for AMAC and at-large board member for AMAC. So thank you for being here today. The Fireside Chat was born out of the Airport Leadership Collective, which we wanted to come up with ways of being able to encourage women in this male-dominated aviation industry that we all are part of. And the theme when we first started was navigating the cultural divide, which means you know what it means. You're in the environment where you have to say things a little differently. You have to walk a little differently than our male counterparts to be able to be heard. This is one of many series that we have. We have them virtually, and then we do an in-person event at the annual conference each year. The first Fireside Chat that we started off with, some of the heavy hitters were Angela Giddens, Cynthia Bowen, Thella Bowen, Cynthia Guidry, and Gladys Brown. So those were all two former airport directors and two current airport directors. Now you're talking about funny, because the two that were retired were like, we can tell you the real story. The two that were still there were like, yeah, we may not want to say a whole lot because we're still here. So it was an interesting dynamic for them to share their experiences. And I learned a lot from all of those. So we continue to have them. So I'm happy to have this group of ladies with us today. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So I will start with Tamika Dickerson.
Yes, and good afternoon. And thank you, Karen, for just the opportunity to be a part of this impactful discussion. I know it's going to be very fruitful. I've been a longtime advocate of AMAC and just, very pleased to have this opportunity to be part of this platform. And thank you for letting me join this esteemed panelists of other dynamic women as we celebrate Women's History Month. But I am Tamika Dickerson. I serve as the Associate Vice President within our aviation practice with HNTB. HNTB is an infrastructure solution firm, a nationwide brand. We've been around for 110 years, surprisingly. So we have just celebrated about 2 to 3 months ago our 110th year anniversary. I have been with the firm for about 4.5 years, and I am physically based in our Houston office, where I am overseeing our aviation practice and really focus on strategic growth and working closely with our client, Houston Airport Systems, and all the great things that they're doing in that space. So again, very, very pleased to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Sheneice, will you introduce yourself, please?
I sure will. My name is Sheneice Hughes. I am with the City of Dallas, Dallas Love Field Airport, Dallas Airport System. I've been in aviation for 11 years, but with the City of Dallas for 24 years. I oversee administration and customer engagement at Dallas Airport System.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. Darlene?
So hello, everyone. I come with a little bit of a different angle. So I am Darlene Wilson. I am in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm actually an entrepreneur. I own an accounting firm here in Birmingham. And we also have an office in Denver. I've been an entrepreneur now for a little over 18 years. And in my accounting profession and corporate banking profession for over 30 years now, actually. So I started when I was 5, so don't try to do the math.
Don't judge.
That's right.
But anyway, I would just want to say that I come into the aviation space through the Birmingham Airport Authority. I was appointed to the Birmingham Board of Directors for the authority in 2018. So I see airport and aviation work from a very different purview. I'm on the 30,000-foot overview of all things aviation. But I would probably say as a female in this space, it has become incredibly interesting. I've learned a ton as it relates to aviation. My term is 6 years, and from a board level role, I wanted to just say that my role really is to ensure the goals are met within the guidelines that's established by the FAA and the budget that is approved by the board of directors. I'm also y'all's biggest cheerleader. When you think of board of directors, many people don't see us as those that are advocates for them, but I'm certainly an advocate for those in this space and for our leaders, and to really ensure that there's continued growth and there's equity as it relates to many females who are continuing to navigate this space that really for many of you all is still a new space.
Yeah.
For many females, and particularly at the C-suite level. And so my role is really just focused solely with the airport on economic growth and the advancement of airport services.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And Lauryn, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hello. I am not Carrie Adams. However, I am standing in for her today. My name is Lauryn Mangum Reed. I am the Executive Vice President for TMG Hospitality USA, which is an airport concessionaire. We are based out of Phoenix, Arizona. However, we have operations in San Diego and in Salt Lake City on food and beverage and a retail side, and growing every day. This is TMG Hospitality USA is the parent company for TMG Services, Lamb Holdings, Performance Management Consulting Services, and also TMG Development, which focuses on real estate development and land development. So I wear a lot of hats, but as far as aviation is concerned, I know I look 12 some days depending, but I've actually been in the industry going on 12 years this year.
And you are AMAC board member?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's also another hat. So I am also the chair of AMAC's Emerging Leaders and a member of the AMAC Executive Board as the AMAC Secretary.
So Lauryn, thank you for that. We had a membership orientation meeting today with Ramon. And so for those that may not know what Emerging Leaders is, before I go into the questions, can you give us a brief description of what that is?
Yes, of course. So Emerging Leaders is now a committee that started back in 2018 when I started and got involved with AMAC. And we are a group comprised of age 19 to 40. Essentially, it's AMAC's young professional branch, but we do call ourselves Emerging Leaders. We really do focus on the succession of the industry, the succession of AMAC, and really being able to expose emerging leaders, young professionals, not only to the industry, but to all of the possibilities within AMAC, the industry as a whole, and its succession, because it's very much so needed.
Got it. Thank you so much. And so as you can see, we have a well-rounded panel from many disciplines within aviation. And that's what we try to make sure we do so that people can kind of see where they fit within one of these parameters. So I'll start out with the first question, which is, what is one challenge you experienced in your career that a male counterpart may not have had the same experience, and how'd you overcome it? Tamika.
Good question. No, thank you. Oh, wow. Being in the industry for over 25 years, I have experienced multiple challenges, and I would say probably two that come to mind for me. Number one is just fighting to have a voice at the table. And I don't know if you ladies have had that same experience, but we've had to fight, and then coupled with being women of color, I will say that I have experienced having to fight, number one, getting in the room, first of all, then getting a seat at the table, and then now having a voice at the table. So that was the biggest challenge for me. And sometimes I've, have experienced that, I won't say here at HNTB, but with other firms. I think, I've been able to overcome that, though, just by making sure that I have executive advocacy at all levels of the organization, continue to just advocate for myself, and then making sure that my voice is heard. I make a point to say, listen, I do have a voice. I have some really meaningful things to say. So I'm very intentional in doing that. Secondly, I would say something that I know a lot of us are experiencing is the challenges with pay equity. I have a very, very good example of when I started off with another firm that will remain nameless, and I was going to take a leadership role. It was an increase in pay, but I was having some challenges with my contract. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. When you're working in the A&E space, and Karen, I know you know, and then many of you ladies probably know, you do a lot of travel, right? And so I was bi-coastal at that time, and they had brought me on. I was still based in Houston, but they had brought me on to work on a project in LA. Well, as part of my negotiations, I was told flat out, well, there's no room to pay for travel expenses. Okay. But exactly. But it was a good opportunity from a growth perspective in terms of role. So, I'm a risk taker. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go out on faith and I'm going to accept the position. But it still bothered me because I just knew, I've been in the business long enough that I knew that probably was not right.
Case for everybody.
Well, got on the program, and sure enough, I found out that all of my male counterparts were getting paid travel, all things covered. And so, and needless to say, I was the only woman of color in a program management role as well. So I don't want to say that had anything to do with it, but there were definitely some inequities there. But it took me to meet the global vice president of our aviation division, and he sat down with me and he wanted to just meet me, because he had heard a lot about me and some of the things that I was doing, and some of the accomplishments I was making. And so through that introduction, he asked me a question, and I think my answer took, kind of threw him for a loop, because he said, well, where are we putting you up? And I said, I have to be very honest with you, you guys aren't. I'm having to pay out of pocket. And so with that conversation, he was just very shocked. And he was like, that's not what we do. We take care of our people. And he was livid, to be honest with you. So he was able to remedy that solution. And then he became an advocate for me in the firm. And after that, my career just really took off, because he made sure that I was taken care of. So I would say, if you're having issues, or challenges in that way, the main thing I would do is look and seek, maybe some executive advocacy at the highest levels of the organization. So that was what helped me. So that's one example that came to mind, Karen.
Thank you. Before I go to the next speaker, I just wanted to let you know, if you all have questions, please put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat, and we'll be able to answer questions that way. I apologize for not saying that from the start. Does anybody else want to address that question? Lauryn?
Yeah, I can jump in. So I got into the industry in my early 20s. And I started off with the family business. And then I got recruited and relocated by a large national company. And at the time, it was woman-owned, woman-operated. So it sounds like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, right? No, it was probably one of the worst experiences that I had in my professional career to date. So one of the biggest issues and obstacles that I experienced was women actually gatekeeping, and me being not just one of the only Black women in a position of somewhat leadership, right? But also being young. So there was the dynamic of, we a lot of times are in the room, but no one's listening to us, kind of like
Mhm.
Tamika just mentioned. Well, also being the young one, you're just, if
Even
you have a
more.
seat at the
Mhm.
table, you're lucky just to be there, right?
Mhm.
And trying to understand, because you don't know what you don't know. So trying to ask questions, trying to understand, but also understand from a place of not being ignorant, even though I was ignorant, because that
Not
would
seen
just
in that
fuel
way.
exactly, because that would just
Good.
fuel whatever was happening. I'm
We knew
trying to
it,
have,
we just didn't say it.
exactly. So like trying,
Mhm.
I'm in ignorance in a sense of just not knowing, right? And so trying to understand the role, trying to understand the organization without asking questions, because it was hard enough just being in the room. And so really teaching myself everything that I could, because I had so many women around me, which should have been empowering, but in fact, it was actually very much so gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And I was always met with adversity. Even, well, you got to just kind of sit down and wait your turn 20 plus years. Well, hold on, wait a minute, not to be a typical millennial, but that's not, I bring too much to the table, and I know
Right.
this. I can go somewhere else and have a seat and have a voice. So that was one of my original like big challenges that I don't really see male counterparts having to deal with, even younger ones. But having channels, like honestly, AMAC was the biggest catapult to my career. There was a conference happening and they made a mistake and sent me. And I reached out to someone at the time that was working for AMAC headquarters and said, hey, my name's Lauryn. This is who I work for. Do you guys have anything going on for young professionals? Like, I want to get involved. How can I help? And that in turn turned into me literally being part of the brainchild for AMAC's Emerging Leaders, and started what is now AMAC Emerging Leaders as a committee. I think the other challenge that I experienced that my male counterparts don't, is navigating being a new mom while also trying to advance my career. And that's something, I don't even call it balance anymore. It's kind of like a synergy of sorts that you hope and pray for. So having a 2-year-old and having a 10-month-old, and also running a company, and wearing all the hats is very difficult. So I know I've sat at a table at a conference, and some guy has like 6 kids, and he's literally traveling every week all the time. And I'm just sitting there looking, he's like, oh yeah, the kids, I got to bring them back something. And I'm like, oh, it must be nice, because we don't have that luxury as women to just, okay, all right, I'm here this week, I'm here next week, and still have babies. You have to either give up your career, or you kind of take a step back in motherhood. And I refuse to do either of those things. So that's a challenge that I'm currently in. And navigating. So anyone with older children that have been here, feel free to send me your blueprint if you have one. Sometimes it's just, surviving the day, what I mean? And overcoming that, and mentally being okay with just saying, hey, I didn't get anything done on my to-do list, but I survived the day, and my kids went to sleep with a smile on their faces.
And Lauryn, I know you have come to conferences and you've had the babies right there with you. Right there, strapped in with you. So, but that's what we have to do. That's what
if you see me next week, that's what I will be doing. He will be right there with me.
Strapped in. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask another question. Tamika, I'm sorry, Sheneice, you and Darlene, this is for you two. What is one thing you have done in your career which you feel has set you apart from your colleagues?
I think one thing that I've done in my career that has set me apart is I have taken on challenges that no one else wanted to do.
Yeah.
I have looked for the gaps in the airport. When I first got here 11 years ago or 12 years ago, one of the things that I saw was a lot of gaps of things that we didn't have that we needed. And no one wanted to take on the task of making sure that that gap was filled. For several reasons, some people were like, well, they'll figure it out. I'm not the leader. I'm not the director. I don't have to worry about that. But I've never taken on that type of attitude. If I work somewhere, I'm an entrepreneur. That is my organization. It represents me. I don't want anything to come out about the organization that I would not co-sign on. I could tell you, all my managers will tell you right now, Lord have mercy, she just proofread everything all the time because I don't want anybody to say, you know, the mistakes are Dallas Love Field or Dallas Airport System. So I have taken on roles and I have suffered with my work-life balance. You said it's not called that anymore, or my synergy for that, because I'm the type of person that I take on everything and I want everything to be perfect. And that's a mistake. Don't think that that's the way to go. But opening yourself up to challenges, because my degrees are in psychology. How did I get in aviation? Because God wanted me here. Because every
Absolutely.
step of the way has been unorthodox. But this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm doing great work because I do understand the mind, and and I do this because I'm like people crazy, but I understand the mind. I understand how people work and what motivates them. So that helps us to create, and I think that's what sets me apart from the typical aviation management degree person.
I love it. Darlene, what about you?
So I a lot of what Sheneice says. So it's interesting. I feel like I grew up in a family. I'm the youngest of five, and so I have this very. I feel I've always felt really empowered to be able to do all the things that I have wanted to do in life, and that. So I will tell you, like from the start of my career, I really was the person who didn't really understand the limitations of a job description or a position description. If the work had to be done, I was there to do the job. And so I would say that from the very start of my career, there was a drive in me that was really my own drive. I wasn't driven by anyone else. People will tell you, like, people spend a lot of time thinking about what others do, competing in spaces with others. I want to be who you are. I want to have what you have. I would tell people that I'm the polar opposite of that. I was my biggest competitor, me, myself. Like I'm always in this internal competition with my own level of excellence and what I want to achieve for my own self.
Yeah.
And so I think that has really set me apart from a career perspective. Even in fact, it's to a degree, I can say that I have taken a lot of risk defying all of what was believed to be the risk for only identifying what would be the reward. So I think you would, if you know any entrepreneurs in your life. I mean, I'm not a first generation entrepreneur. I am a third generation entrepreneur. I come from an incredibly successful mother and father who were entrepreneurs in their own right and in their own space. So I would tell people this, that I jumped probably at a time when most people would be like, you're opening up a business now? So really because of what Lauryn said, I knew that I could do both. I knew that I could be a professional and I knew that I could be an excellent mother all at the same time. And I didn't have to give one up for the
other one. Got it.
And so I started, and being in accounting, many of you would know, going back to that, being in a space that is dominated by men, which is still dominated by men. I made my way in that space. I never asked for a seat at the table. I just go sit. I'm that lady. And so, and I never go to a table, and I'm going to say this to everyone, to participate. I already know I have come to lead. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. But I'm coming to lead. So,
I love it.
So I would just say that for me, it's just never really leaning so much on what the risk was, but really leaning heavily in on the reward.
Absolutely.
And what was I truly trying to achieve? Now, I would probably tell you in the past 8 years, I take a much more calculated risk in what I do now. But my risk now are more from experience, certainly from research, and understand it. And I trust the process in the moves that I make now. So I don't live with a very scarcity mindset. So if it's something I want to do, and if it's something I intend to accomplish, that's just exactly what I'm going to do. And I
Got it.
think that is what sets me apart in my career and why I've been able to accomplish what I have to date.
Thank you very much for that. Before we go on to the next question, I want to read a comment that came over from Liliana Rumbo. Thank you, Liliana, for joining us. She said, Lauryn, and I believe this is to you. It can be done. I guess it's to be anybody. It can be done. It's not easy, but gain strength from others that have been there. You're not alone. Motherhood is beautiful. Being a professional, successful woman is achievable. Please give me a call. Hugs. And that's sweet. I just thought
Isn't
that,
that
thank you
nice?
so much, Liliana. I
Oh.
appreciate that. That's kind. Okay, so I'm going to ask another question about mentors. Do you all have mentors, and why is it important to have a mentor? Anybody just jump in.
Yes, yes, yes. I want to talk about this.
Okay.
I just want to tell you all, definitely, we have sold ourselves short for long enough in our careers. And that has been done because we do not want to be in a space of the unknown and vulnerability. It is you to have mentors, you have to be vulnerable. To have mentors is to recognize that they have something that you don't have. And that is what you are trying to fill your gaps with. Understanding what your gaps are is to know where to go and get the solutions. And that is in others who have paved the way for us. Those persons are there for a reason. You never, ever in a mentorship have to be the smartest person in the room. They're asking you to come with your ideas, your plans. How do you think you're going to get there? And let's see how we can get there together. It is for your personal development and for your career advancement. It is almost virtually impossible to get to some of the spaces and places that you are trying to go in your career, particularly those who are and want to be in C-suite and executive level positions. It is highly unlikely for you to do that on a journey by yourself.
I agree. I agree.
It just is critical to your growth. And the sooner you acknowledge that in your career, I would tell you that I feel the sooner you will see the depth of advancement and personal growth that you are looking for. Mentorship is a two-way street. It is not something that you just give to. Believe me, your mentors received so much more just from you as well. They're learning from young professionals just as they are teaching you the way. And so I would just always encourage you. Mentorships are relationships. We all know what those are like to build. And the sooner you build that for yourself, the more access you have and the sooner you begin to gain access in your career, because you are building this relationship with these 1, 2, maybe 3 people along the way. Know what you're looking for. Identify where you're trying to go in your career and seek those people out. People are willing to give back to you. People are willing to pour into you. They're willing to help you pave the way. You have to just go to them and ask. The mentors in my life, at this point in my life, I have mentors and coaches. So I would just say to you that my mentors are my sponsors. There is no way that I am where I am today in my career if it had not been for those persons who have truly opened doors for me, who has not just asked me to come to the table, but pulled the chair out and said, sit down and you're going to be right here.
I got you. I got you. Makes total sense. Anybody else? But there's a question in the chat, but I wanted to make sure if anybody else wanted to share their experience about mentorship.
I want to say one thing about mentorship. Like, I've had a mentor ever since I've been at the city of Dallas, and most of them have been males. To Lauren's point, females have not always opened the door or tried to assist me in getting where I wanted to be because they feel like, it's just one seat and they need to covet that and be gatekeepers. But most of the mentors I've had have been males. And one mentor told me, if you're getting mentored and you're learning something, make sure you're mentoring somebody. So it should be a relationship where someone's pulling you up and you're pulling someone else up. Don't just covet all that information for yourself and use it for yourself and not help somebody else, because it's about paying it forward. And if you do that, you will continuously be blessed. You will continuously have those things that you didn't even think about asking for come to you, as long as you're blessing somebody as well.
Got it. So I'm going to ask this question, Tamika, and I'm going to let you jump in it because it's similar to this. It says, what is the best way to go about getting a mentor? What are some ways to find and ask someone to become a mentor? What are the kinds of support / structure around mentorship you recommend we ask for? So Tamika, you and Lauryn, I know both of you all have had a lot of mentors, so.
I have, and some of mine have, I think Darlene and Sheneice kind of touched on it. I've always been taught, my grandmother would teach me that she's like, if you want to soar like an eagle, you can't run with pigeons, right? And if you want to become a millionaire, you have to surround yourself with millionaires. So you have to surround yourself with what you want to become. And so I was very intentional in that. I mean, Karen, and I don't know if you know this, and I think we may have talked about this before, you have been a mentor to me. I've seen you, I've always admired the very intentional work and advocacy that you do for so many women in aviation. You were one of the first coming from, I've known you since Atlanta, right? And I've seen your the career journey that you've taken and some of the leaps of faith that you've taken moving from, bi-coastal. And so that has its own set of challenges, but advice, I just think that, if I could give advice to someone, it's always to lift as you rise, seek out, surround yourself with folks that you want to emulate. I also recommend having both male and female mentors. And the reason why I say that is because you get different aspects of mentorship from a man than you might get from a woman. You can take pieces and parts and pull them together. And I believe in having mentors at every level of the organization. They should be laddered, right? Because a mentor can even be a peer. There's things that I can learn from, there's a peer that I have right now that we mentor each other. There's also, like I mentioned, I have, Karen as a mentor. I've had mentors at other, within the, Houston airport systems. Liliana is a phenomenal mentor. Rhonda R. I mean, just so many that I can name that just have paved the way for us. So I may not have answered that, succinctly.
No, I think you did.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I would say is just to really surround yourself with where with the type of people that you want to emulate yourself after. So that's one piece.
Yeah, and I think that, sometimes people hear like, oh, how do I find a mentor, and they look at mentorship as a very formal structure, right? And you have AMAC builds, with the mentorship program that you can actually get into the mentorship program and have a structured mentor-mentee relationship, et cetera. I think that throughout my career thus far, and I think it was Darlene that said it, my mentorship, me mentoring someone else has really just been very, it's relationship. It's been very relationship based. And Karen, you can attest to this, Crystal Broomfield, I mean, in the beginning, when I was getting involved with AMAC, we were on calls all the time, just flushing out what emerging leaders was going to look like. But when I was going through all that I was going through within that organization, I was calling her, sometimes crying, like, I don't know what to do. And just having someone there and not necessarily, quote unquote coaching you all the time,
Mhm.
but just building that relationship and having that dialogue, and helping you navigate through spaces that you might not be quite too sure of. I think that sometimes we just look at it in such a formal way, and you're like, how can I find somebody,
Gotta be
and
formal.
especially, yeah, I call you every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, like I'm online, but
Right.
you don't want it to be, I don't want
Right.
it to be,
Make it
that's
work
not
for
how,
you.
and
Yeah.
it could work for you. It could work for
Mhm.
you. But I look at I look at mentors that I've had. Look at people that, I can call at any point in time. And the reason that I can call them and they can sew into me is because we built that relationship.
Yeah.
It wasn't based off of what can you do for me or what can I do
That's
for
right.
you, but it truly was just a relationship.
Yeah.
If I need to pick your brain, let me pick your brain. But sometimes I just want to know how you're doing. How
Yeah.
are you, kids?
Yeah.
What's
Mhm.
going on with you? Let me follow up with you as far as a event that you had or something that you had going on, doing those check-ins, because when you don't always need something, right? So like when you do, or when you have something that you need assistance with, you've built that rapport to call. Also,
Right.
it gives you the opportunity when you're coming into a new industry, everything that glitters ain't gold. And people do a whole lot of talking and not a whole lot of working. So you might align yourself with somebody that you don't even really need to be aligned with in order to grow and have the trajectory that you want to
I
grow,
love it.
because they're like, oh yeah, I'll mentor you. Typically speaking, those people have not been the best of mentors or the individuals that you necessarily want to be attached to.
Yeah.
So when you build those relationships, it gives you the opportunity to really flush out who that person is. And
Yeah.
also gives them the opportunity to flush out who you really are, to
Mhm.
see if this is a relationship that's going to work, and if it's going to be a leaf, a branch, or a root.
Got it. Thank you.
So
Awesome.
I
yeah.
certainly think that there's some, I would say that there's some structure to it though, because, other than that, you are likely giving away time that no one really has. So I think for me, when I got into mentoring, I think I wanted to approach it from the perspective of, if you're looking for a friend and someone to hang out with, I'm not the girl. It's just not. I mean,
Business.
Mhm.
I mean, so however, though, much to what Lauryn said, over time, you do become the partner and friend in there that says, hey, how are you
Sure.
doing? How did things
Sure.
go? I'm going to come and support you at whatever event. I'm going to join this. You're on this panel discussion. Send me the link. I'm going to jump in and be there to listen to you and be that smiling face that you need in the audience, and or that eye to connect with, right? You do become
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
But initially, it has to be something that aligns with you from the perspective of your professional growth and personal development that
Yeah.
will get you in the doors or in spaces where you are trying to get access to.
Yeah.
And that
And
is
Darlene,
a different.
my question for you is like, if I'm somebody coming in to the industry, and I don't know Adam from Eve or anybody, how do you, and that's why I say kind of like the relationship, right? And building
Yeah.
that rapport, but how do you almost vet those people to make sure that you're aligning yourself with the right individuals to cultivate that mentor opportunity?
Absolutely. I agree. I think that's the start of it, right? I think that's how, I mean, when I chose the mentors that I have in my life, I feel like we were choosing each other at the same time, because over time I was in their space. I was asking questions specifically to those persons, not going up, like you said, Lauryn, do you want to be my mentor? Here's
Yeah.
the
I need a
application.
mentor
Yeah,
right now.
right,
Can you be
right.
my
You
mentor
know,
right now?
right. It was more of really filling them out with the questions that I had, because I felt that they were probably the right people for me, but I needed to be
Yeah,
in
veteran.
spaces that they were in more often. And that's how I just went after the people that I was interested in.
Yeah.
So if Tamika is the one that I'm wanting to be in partnership with, I'm interested in what Tamika is doing. I have read Tamika's bio. I have followed Tamika on LinkedIn. I have article or everything she's a part of, I've been watching her. I've been paying very close attention to her. I see how she's responding to different things. I see what her advancement has been throughout her career. I've even taken note of certifications, education, conferences, things that
Research,
she
honey.
has
You
attended.
you got your stuff done. You got it done. So and you know,
Intentional.
thank you so
It's-
much for that. The last thing I'll say for that is a mentor is not always going to tell you what you want to hear. And if you
Mhm.
have a
That's it.
mentor
Energy
that's
alignment.
telling you
Mhm.
everything that you want to hear, then
Yeah.
that may not be the person that you need to align yourself with.
Absolutely.
And so
That's right.
Constructive criticism.
I will just say, and you don't always have to agree. And I'm
Mhm.
looking at this list, and I just saw my mentor join this conversation. And she's been pushing me to do something that I'm like, I'm not doing it, but she
Mhm.
stays on me. Every time she sees me, she hears me, and I'm like, okay. Because again, I know that, and I'm just being totally honest. I know that
Yeah.
she sees something in me that I may not see in me, but I
Mhm.
have no desire to be where she wants me to be. So, but I love her. I love her.
Yeah.
And I will continue. She will be my ever for mentor. Angela Giddens, you're on here. I know it. Lauryn knew who I was talking about. Everybody knows I'm talking about you. But I just love her to death. She's going to tell you
Hmm.
the things that you may not want to hear. She's going to tell you to straighten it up, clean it up, fix it. And because it's for your good. She's
Mhm.
been there. So don't
Yeah.
walk down that same path and that I've been down. I knew what to do to clean it up. I'm trying to help you. So
Yeah.
thank you. That's all I gotta say about my mentor. Love you, Angela.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think a
one
good mentor would challenge you, stretch you, and
Mhm.
help
that one.
help you. And that part, you want someone that's going to challenge you, stretch you, and help groom you. And so I totally agree with you. You know,
Yeah.
just someone that's going to help you, encourage you to take stretch assignments. You know, step out of your comfort zone, step out
Yep,
of your
for
box.
sure.
Mhm.
My mentor said that to me, male and female.
For
And so
sure.
if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't be in this space now. So thank you for that, Karen.
We
Yeah.
always, yes, that is you. She just put in the chat. No, that's not me. I mean her.
She taught you well because you do the same thing to everybody else.
I got it from her. Got it.
Mhm. She taught you.
Okay, so what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Let me take
Oh,
this one first, guys.
Okay.
I would tell my younger self, do whatever you want to do.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
whatever you want to do because you're going to achieve it. And
Okay.
stop worrying about what people think about you, if it's the right time, if you don't do it, what'll happen. Do whatever you want to do. Just do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Like Nike said.
Just do
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Just do it.
It's to take more risk, right?
Okay.
Opportunities do not always come around twice. So
Mhm.
take risk, take a leap of faith.
That's
I am a
true.
person in divine orchestration. I don't believe in mistakes. So I would say take more risk. And as a woman, and I think we've alluded to this earlier, always make room for someone else at the table.
Mhm.
Because if you're coveting all spaces for yourself, what you're doing now is limiting yourself from being able to move to the next position. You know, it's like having your hand closed. If you have
Can
it
nothing
closed,
get in it?
so tightly,
Nothing
nothing
get out
can
of it.
Mhm.
and so therefore you're limiting yourself for growth. So that would be something that I would encourage, you know, not only myself, you know, if I had to do it differently, but also others, you know, as you're looking to grow. But that's one thing I would say is just always make room for someone else at the table.
Mhm. Lauryn, what you got?
You are your biggest advocate
Okay.
until you build, network, and meet individuals that are in rooms that are bigger than yours and with people of greater power and influence that are advocating for you.
Mhm.
And then also I would say you got this. The road is rough, but the road is worth it.
Mhm. Just
I
do
love
it.
I love it. I love it. It's in the chat. Yes, let's do it. Yes.
Mhm.
Darlene, challenge you stretch you and groom you. I
That's
love
what
it.
Tamika said. That's how I put it up there. I said, she said, find a mentor that challenges you, stretches you, and grooms you.
I love that. I love that.
So
Okay.
I think for
What
me,
would you say? You're
in my
younger.
younger self, I would just have advised myself to just simply stay the course, right?
Mhm.
And trust the process,
Mhm.
to realize my advancements,
Okay.
because the reward of your dreams is long term. Like, it's nothing short term. And I would just say, take your time, you know, just take your time. You know,
Give
life
yourself
is,
some grace,
give
yourself some
yourself
love, give
some
yourself
grace.
some ability to make
Yeah,
mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and keep moving. Don't be afraid, just
right.
keep moving.
You know,
Yeah.
we
Going through it.
continue to allude to all the things and the many hats that women wear, right? Like, particularly centered around, you know, our reproductive lives, you know, and we will not get into that conversation. But the part of this that I am trying to address is just this feeling sometimes, I'm 25 and I should be doing this. I'm 28 and this needs to be done.
Yeah.
I'm 30, I
Your
should have
list.
3
Give yourself
kids. I
some
mean,
Yes.
time.
and we're trying to check the box, and like Lauryn said, we got all these outside forces and people in your ear telling you what you should be doing and when you should be doing it. Oh my God, you're not married yet. And you
Oh,
know, all
yes.
of these things, right? That women, you know, that we grow with as children, you know, it's coming from every direction of our lives, the men in our lives, the women in our lives. And then we are surprised that it's even the friends, it's the circle, it's the people around us, you know,
Yeah.
as young adults. I don't care what anyone says, we are still not the favorite. The professional married woman with children, it's like looking at you like you're a deer with 12 horns on your head.
Yeah.
You know,
How often you gonna be out? What you gonna be doing?
right.
I need you this, and you ain't gonna be able to do it because you got kids.
So,
Now.
you know, it's just the
Do whatever
feeling
you do.
of just when you're young and being able to say, hey, who are you? And, you know, what do you really want to do? I'm nothing like any of my sisters. I mean, like, what I chose and how I chose my path, you know, it's not anything that the traditional Catholic girl
That's right.
would have done.
Yeah. Yeah. I got it.
Karen, also, one other thing I want to add too
Sure.
is
Sure.
working in a male-dominated environment in an A&E space. I've had to learn not to leave Tamika at the door when I come to work. Bring your whole self to work.
Ah.
Yes.
I
Feel
love
like
it.
we need something other than ourselves when we get to the door. Bring your whole self.
Put on our voice.
You know, if that is your personality, if that is your flavor, if that's your flair,
Yes.
bring it with you, because that we need diverse voices, diverse personalities at the table. And so sometimes we feel like we have to be whatever,
Somebody else.
you know, gray suit, white and no, you know, you can't wear your no. That is something that I would tell my younger self, is to be able to bring your whole self to work. Don't leave Tamika at the door and you know, become somebody else when you get there. No. Absolutely not. So
That's something I admire about the new generation 25 right now. They bring it and I love it. I'm here for all of it. Now I see somebody unique and they coming in, they're like, well, they say I can't wear. I say, wear it, baby. Wear whatever you want. Come in and do it the way you do it. Don't worry about how they do it because they want to copy what you're doing anyway.
Anyway, just don't have the courage to do so.
That's right.
So I talked to each one of you as we were trying to put this panel together. So why, Lauryn? Well, other than the fact that I asked you, why, Lauryn, did you agree to be on this panel? I mean, and thank you. Today, I literally called, the full disclosure, I literally called Lauryn probably a few hours ago because Carrie was not able to join us, and I wanted a perspective from an emerging leader to be a part of this panel. So I called Lauryn, and Lauryn is kind of like Angela does to me. If Angela calls me, the answer gonna be pretty much yes. That's that other thing that she's trying to get me to do. That answer gonna always be no. But Lauryn's gonna always kind of say yes. So Lauryn, tell me what happened. Why did you, other than the fact that I asked you, my love, why did you decide to be on this panel, to join the panel?
So when Karen, when you called me literally a couple hours ago, I'm a calendar person, right? So everything is almost planned to the minute in order for me to even attempt to get things done. So I had my lash appointment at 10 a.m. because I'm headed to the conference next week. And I
Yeah.
have my lash tech while my eyes are literally taped shut. I said, who is this calling? She said, Karen Ellis. I said, can you swipe to answer it and put her on speakerphone? And y'all can call Heather if you want the truth. This is what happened. Swipe and put her on speakerphone. And that's what she did. And Karen's like, oh my goodness, this is what happened. Do you know an emerging leader that can? I'm like, Karen, it's in 2 hours. And I'm trying to do the time difference, or, you know, can you yourself do it? And I'm like, okay, I need to go to the commissary, all the things that I need to get done before the kids get out of school. And I'm like, okay, yep, yes, ma'am. I will make it happen. And that's what I did. I mean, honestly, there's no other question. And I had going back to being a mom, right? My son had some medical things that we had to take care of yesterday. So I was unable to do the Women's History Month with Legends and Leapers. And I was really hard on myself and really disappointed that I shouldn't say it like that, but I had to choose my son, right? I had to, and also my mental space. And I couldn't do Legends and Leapers yesterday. And so this was almost like God saying, all right, I see you, having that opportunity to speak during Women's History Month, and, you know, and with these dynamic women. So it just made sense. So, you know, nothing else got done today, Karen, but I said yes to you, girl. I'm here.
It was meant to be, Lauryn. It was meant
And
to
my
be.
lashes.
And your lashes cute, girl.
I know. Tamika, what about you? Because you're such a humble person. I just love you so. But what made you decide to say yes to join this panel?
Well, number one, you know, anytime I have an opportunity to be able to fellowship with you, Karen, you know, that is something I always love.
Go ahead, keep saying it.
Meaningful conversations, honestly, and I knew that this would be impactful. And you know, anytime I can provide lessons learned or guidance that I had, you know, through challenges that I've accomplished, I mean, have been able to traverse, you know, being able to navigate certain waters, and if it can be of assistance or support or help to someone else, then, you know, I wanted to be able to offer that to someone today. So hopefully there's, you know, some nuggets that and tools that people can now put in their toolkit and take with them, you know, because we, you know, as women, you go through different challenges, but then as African-American women, you go through a whole nother set of challenges. And being in a male-dominated environment, you go through even another set of challenges. So hopefully, you know, there's some things that people can take from the conversation today.
Thank you. We lost Lauryn. Maybe she'll come back.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So, Darlene, why did you decide? I mean, and Darlene, let's be. I've been trying to get Darlene for a couple of sessions, but I met her, I guess, a few years ago at a conference, and I immediately said, I need you on the panel. I mean, literally, I said, I need you on the panel. And we didn't connect that year, and then we saw each other again earlier this year, and I was like, okay, hey, I need you. So why did you agree to? Because you didn't know me. I told you what it was going to be about. So what made you decide to join us?
So I really always enjoy doing panels and discussions like this, having fireside chats, round tables, because I'm here to listen and learn. Most people think that a panel is for one to share their own knowledge and thoughts only. But it's my opportunity to meet other amazing leaders and learn from each of you. And I'm always willing to give back. There's so many people that have poured into my life and into my career and continue to pour into my life and my career. And I realize that these are platforms, honestly, that saves people's careers.
Absolutely.
It saves their families. It saves relationships, jobs. And most of all, we're here to save ourselves. You know, and so these panels are really important discussions for women, because many women really don't have all the answers, are not quite sure in what direction they should be going. And I just wanted to, one thing that Sheneice says, and I hope that this changes because I'm hearing this more often than I want to hear it, is that it's challenging for women to have female mentors. That cannot continue, beautiful ladies. That
Right.
can't continue.
Right.
We
Just
have
said my
to
mentor, one of my mentors
be
is a
each
female
other.
that's on here.
Be there for each other.
Yeah.
No one knows our journey better than each other. So there's no reason that we can't carry each other along. So panels like this are good for us.
Yeah,
So I am hoping that when the next panels I'm on and the next time I'm around other young professionals, that particularly women my age, and that is that 50 plus year, I mean like mid 50 plus year, we've got to be holding on to each other. We've got to be
Mhm.
carrying one another along. And
Yep.
there is enough space for all of us.
Everybody.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Enough
So,
space.
Shenice,
Mhm.
why'd you join the panel? And we're getting ready to wrap it up. So you want to
I,
share?
jo- I joined the panel because Karen told me to.
Okay, good
But
answer.
also, I do anything for you, Sarah. Anything.
I appreciate it, Sarah.
But also because representation matters. It will always matter for everybody, no matter what field you're in, whether it's male dominated or not. Representation matters. Everybody wants to see someone or hear someone that's like them. And
Got
so I'm here to be the crazy one on this group because that's who I am.
Well,
And
thank you so much for being the crazy one on the
you're
group.
welcome.
We're going to get ready to wrap it up. But Lauryn, I see your mentor is on. I don't know if you saw that Crystal's on.
can't
Crystal,
see.
thank you so much for joining us. And I see, some ladies from the San Antonio Airport System. Thank you so much for being on. But ladies, I have one last question for you, and got to make it brief because we only have a 4 minutes.
That was fast.
What piece of advice would you give someone that is looking to advance their career?
Research what you want to do. Make sure that it's truly what you want to do, and then just go for it. Get you a mentor, apply for the job, make sure that you have the skills that it takes to get ready for that job, and just be ready for adversity to come and be ready to fight, for your place at the table.
Tamika.
I would say definitely I would echo Sheneice, finding yourself a good mentor, surrounding yourself with other leaders, challenging yourself, always looking to be a voice and not an echo at the table. Just always being a voice and not an echo. That is something, a mantra that I stand on. Yes, and always lift as you rise. And if you're doing that, then you will be able to get where you're wanting to go.
Fantastic. Darlene?
Much to what Sheneice said, do your research. Know your industry well, know the positions that are available to you, and don't wait to check all the boxes. Many times we as women, we wait to check all the boxes before we go after the positions that we are seeking in our careers. Find those people that are in those positions, understand what it has taken for them to get where they are today, and don't be afraid to participate. Don't be afraid to just step outside the boundaries in which you think you've been confined by, which is what most people try to live their day-to-day work life, which is about position descriptions. That's not going to set you apart. And that's not going to advance your career.
Lauryn.
My internet went out. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I wish I would have gone first because you guys nailed every single one of those on the head. I think that, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are trying to advance, regardless of what area of the industry, network, really network, get yourself out there, put yourself out there and talk to people, right? You never know who you're going to come in contact with that's going to say, you know what? We have a position opening up, or we have this, and let people know. Sometimes we're afraid to tell people what our goals are or what our plans are, etc. But sometimes when you meet somebody at the C-suite level, like Karen, hey, I'm interested in really, you know, growing and advancing into a C-suite level within an airport. Having those conversations with people and really networking. Sometimes we're too afraid to put ourselves out there, like everyone has said, and just making sure that, you know, you get out, step outside your comfort zone and do that.
Sure, sure. So thank you, ladies, for all of your candid comments, for your feedback, and for your advice, not only to your younger self, but also to the individuals that are on this call. Thank you all for attending. I want to give you 2 updates, just reminders, if you will, that the 39th Annual AMAC Business Diversity Conference registration is open now. And if you are planning to come, we ask that you go ahead and register now, because last year when the conference was in San Antonio, it sold out. And I mean, I know sometimes we wait till the end, but you may not get in, just like some people didn't get in last year. That's the first thing. The dates for the conference are August 3rd through 7th, and it is in Nashville, Tennessee. And then the last thing, which I am super excited about, is we are in the process of planning a Women in Aviation Summit for this fall. So just be on the lookout for that. The Women in Aviation Summit will be a 2.5 days of topics about different things that women, similar to the fireside chat. We will probably have a fireside chat there as well, but be on the lookout for that, because we want to make sure that as women, and thank you to the guys that were on the call as well, but we want to make sure that we're opening up the dialogue, because what you're experiencing is what somebody else is experiencing. And you need to hear that it's okay to be able to experience that. So again, thank you so much. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks.
Bye.
Nice being on the panel with you ladies.
Thank
you. Bye-bye.